What's really behind the hundreds of U.S. corporations opposing Georgia's new voting law? Why it may be compared with the playbook of the Chinese Communist Party? Welcome to Sound of Hope News. I'm Cathy Zhang. We'll bring you a unique perspective to this topic. It was reported that a growing number of companies and top executives, as many as 200 to 300, are blasting the sweeping election bill which was signed into law by Georgia governor at the end of March. The bill was aimed at improving the state's election integrity, but it sparked outrage among some activists who claimed the legislation an attack on minorities, suggesting that members of the Black community cannot figure out how to acquire a photo ID, among other assumptions. More than 70 Black business leaders signed an open letter calling on companies to oppose similar bills in other states. This is the first time that U.S. companies publicly oppose a state's election law. What's the deeper reason behind it? As someone who lived under Chinese Communist regime, we believe it's very alarming as it's similar to how communism works. Right after the Major League Baseball declared that protesting Georgia's new election integrity bill was the best way to demonstrate their values as sport, MLB made an announcement to expand its partnership with China's tech giant Tencent rights to stream MLB game in a number of Asian countries until 2023. So who is Tencent? Tencent is the largest internet company in China, which was on the list of Chinese companies owned or controlled by the CCP military and being blacklisted by the Trump administration out of national security concern. Actually, back in 2018, MLB and Tencent reached a 3-year strategic cooperation agreement, for Tencent being MLB's exclusive digital media partner in China to broadcast 125 games within China. In fact, MLB started doing business in China as early as 2007, when it established an office in Beijing. During the 10 years, they tried different events and in various industries in China, but the development and the response was not so successful. However, MLB was not discouraged. In 2017, it formed strategic partnership with a Chinese state-owned media, the China Education TV station, as well as 10-year cooperation with the Beijing Real Estate Company Limited, which parent company was funded by the Beijing municipal government to receive fundings in China. As for Delta Airlines, it has been the official promotion partner of Major League Baseball in China for 4 consecutive years. Through the partnership, Delta Airlines hoped to increase its visibility as the leading U.S. airline in the Chinese market, according to the press release on its website. By partnering with the state-owned companies in Communist China, where there is no voting rights for its people whatsoever, none of these U.S. corporations considered value as a concerning factor. The way how the left-wing activists gathered these 200-some companies together to pressure both Georgia and other states who have passed or trying to pass new voting laws to ensure election integrity reminds us of how the Chinese Communist Party seized power by instigating class struggle. How did they do it? By inciting the peasants to hate landowners, inciting the workers to hate entrepreneurs, and inciting the intellectuals to hate the Nationalist Party who was in power at the time. By gathering the peasants, the workers, and the intellectuals, the Chinese Communist Party formed United Front and effectively operated its power grab. What is United Front? It is to unite the enemies of the future against the enemies of today. After defeating the Nationalist Party government in 1949, the CCP government cracked down the landowners and the national capitalists in the 1950s, and then cracked down the intellectuals in the 1960s. The main force that helped its fight and obtained the power, the peasants. What happened to them? The CCP government used something called household registration, forced the peasants to remain at the farmland and remain poor. Don't you move around and threaten my regime. Today, the communist forces in the United States, although they dare not to call it the Communist Party because most Americans don't like communism, and they are doing in the same way because it has the same gene. That is, inciting blacks to hate whites, inciting Hispanics, Asians, and the Native Indians to hate white people, inciting women to blame men. The American version of the class struggle is a racial struggle, stirring up division. The more sensational, the more intense, the better. Now, the American Communist forces started to gather its united front by bringing these 200-some corporations into fold to create social pressure and to deter other states from enacting election integrity laws by threatening Georgia. These corporations are used as a tool, and as soon as the communist forces got their hands on the power, they would be the first herd of sheep to be slaughtered, just like the public-private partnership formed by the CCP in 1953 and subsequently killed private enterprises in China. As for the leftist activists, including some black Americans, after being tricked into helping the communist forces seize power, would their fate to be different from that of the Chinese peasants? Just as the KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov once said, the useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of the Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system, when they get disillusioned, they become the worst enemy, he said. They serve a purpose only at the stage of destabilization of a nation. For example, you are leftist in the United States. All those professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize a nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they got offended. They think that they would come to power. That will never happen, of course. But because they know too much, they will be lined up against the wall and shot. The American people, whether Democrats, Republicans, or Independents, are being kept in the dark because the Communist Party's first move to seize power is to use the leftists with a beautiful lie to draw people into it and then divide and conquer. The world has been experimenting the communism for 103 years since the Soviet Union seized power in 1918. All it has brought is lies, killings, and disasters. Does mankind really want to experiment again? Can people who are immune to the communist virus sit back and watch the world repeat the same mistakes? That is why we, who had a first-hand experience with Chinese communist ruling, stepping up and sharing our perspectives with you. If you agree, please share this video to as many people as possible. I'm Cathy Zhang with Sound of Hope News. See you next time.